you and Chris Reed, the world knows him as Kid.
Right.
Second part of
Brother Beige.
Second part of Kid and Play.
Mm.
Y'all, how did y'all even come together? Because you started off with a completely different group. How did you two merge?
Well, Kid used to be part of a group called the Turnout Brothers. That was another group, but that was when Bernard Rockin' B was no longer with us. He wanted to be an MC instead of being a DJ. So he formed another group. So, but Bernard was, like I said, Rome's brother. So there was this friendly competition going on. But as time went on and we're getting older, just remember that scene, or any scene of any famous group we know, like the Temptations and all of that, even the Five Heartbeats, how you got those early members, but when things aren't going their way right away, you have those members that kind of like, yo, I'm out of here, or I have to start making money. This rap thing ain't really making any money. Cats are beginning to have babies with their girlfriends. Parents are beginning to look at us side eye like, yo, you ain't putting no money in here. Either you're going to go to school or you're going to get a job. So as that was happening, the two left that was standing was Kid and I. But prior to that, it kind of goes into a question you asked earlier that was interesting. It got to a point where I saw where my life was going, which was like real bad. My father had just did one of his longest prison stints. He had become a born-again Christian. So he's like, coming down on me real heavy. Life is getting serious now, and I'm seeing things that I just ain't got the heart for. I remember somebody I was with, stick-up kid or cat out there that I admired, gangster, whatever you want to call it. It said the best way that you're going to be successful in this life is you're going to have to be willing to kill your mother and have no conscience about it. That's those who look like they win. I ain't that guy. Like I said, I ain't built for that. So for me, the interesting part that Kid played in my life prior to us forming this duo was that when I would see him from afar, his gear was tight. Back then it was the Jordache jeans, Adidas sneakers, whatever, but he was still that nerd. Big afro, Coca-Cola glass bottle, thick glasses, red, but he was a cool looking nerd, but a nerd nevertheless. So as things began, groups, and he and I, the only two left standing, I'm at that time probably trying to get my GED or whatever the case may be. And he and I start hanging out because our third, like I said, our first official member back then, quiet as kept, is Romeo, Jerome Dorse. Kid and I would have, what would you call when you have a job? We would have, when you have a job and you punch in for your job, you have your...
Yeah, you punch your clock?
Yeah, but it's called a certain...
9 to 5? What are we
talking? It'll
about?
come to me when I stop thinking about it. So anyway, Kid played ball. My man Rome played ball. In the daytime, they did the ball thing. That wasn't me. My thing was nightlife. Rome did the nightlife too. So when the sun started coming down, that's when I would come into the park. Kid would have to be home because he was dealing with a real strict father. So he had to be home by a certain time. I'd meet up with Rome. Shift. That's what the word I was looking for, when you had your shift. So we had shifts. Kid had the Rome shift in the daytime playing ball. I had the Rome shift at nighttime when it was time to get out there. Girls, yada, yada. So after a while, for whatever reason, over a period of time, I started hanging out, coming around Kid more often because now I wanted to change my life. And I'm watching him from afar. I'll never forget one time I was hanging out in his house because I was a bad influence on Kid. I caught him how to not go to school and cut classes and all that stuff. So one day, we end up cutting class. His father's at work. We're at his house. I'm there late enough for, what's the name of that show? Jeopardy comes on,
yep,
where you got to answer the question by asking a question.
Yep.
And it's on, and I'm hearing Kid give the answers to every one of these joints. So I'm like looking at this guy like, who the heck am I? Who is this I'm with? You know what I'm saying? But it intrigued me. And fast forward to the point where, since I felt like I blew it in school, it was too late for me to do it the right way. I barely got my GED. I remember one time coming to him and a young lady I was seeing at the time, she was doing the school thing too. I said, listen, I want to learn words. I was real rough, man, real rough around the edges. It's almost, that's the reason why we did the movie Class Act, because that was us. So I come to him and I'm like, dude, I want to learn words. If I say something the wrong way, would you correct me? If I stop you and I hear you say a word, I want to let you know I'm going to stop you and ask you what that word means. This is my unorthodox way of learning things. And I'll never forget, I thought it was going to take a while for us to have that example. And he stops and I tell him that, and he's like, are you sure? I said, yeah. He said, you really sure? I said, yeah. He's making me mad now. He's like, are you really sure you want me to do it? I'm like, now I'm ready to hit him. I'm like, yeah, man, what? Now I could tell he already has a word in mind that I've been saying. So I think he's going to bring up some big word I've been trying to say. He goes, man, it's breakfast. I hate when you say breakfast. You say breakfast. It's breakfast. I wanted to punch his face so bad. I'm like, breakfast? I want to learn a more complicated word. Breakfast. So I'll never forget that moment. That was like the first of him knowing pretty much what our rhythm is going to be in regards to me just learning the best way I can by the people that I'm around. There's one young lady that was in my life, lovely woman, because like I said, self-taught artist. First school I was accepted to that I blew was the High School of Art and Design. And she was an artist in the same school. So I said the same thing to her, but there was no word she had in mind. She too already had something in mind. I thought it was going to be a word. She hated the fact that whenever we ate together, I would cling my fork against my teeth. That was her way of trying to refine me. Like, when you eat, stop clinging your fork. Again, it's funny when you bring that to certain people, what they may tell you has been annoying to them all this time. I remember one girl I was with and we got into this big argument. I think we broke up and everything. And out of the blue, she just goes, and I hate when you sing the words to the song before the singer sings it.